The fog hung heavy, a shroud over the Zagros Mountains. It was a grim metaphor for the weight that descended upon Iran on that fateful morning. News, stark and brutal, crackled through radios and televisions. A helicopter carrying President Ebrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahian had crashed. No survivors. The nation gasped, plunged into a state of collective shock and disbelief. The initial silence was deafening, broken only by the staccato pronouncements of state media. Images of the wreckage, smoldering on a remote mountainside, flickered across screens. The nation struggled to process the enormity of the loss. Raisi, the austere cleric who had steered Iran through sanctions and international isolation, was gone. So was his trusted diplomat, the man tasked with navigating the treacherous currents of global politics. The streets, usually teeming with life, were eerily quiet. People huddled in their homes, glued to the news, grappling with the sudden void. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. The future, once seemingly charted, now stretched ahead, shrouded in mist and uncertainty. The crash, a cruel twist of fate, had ripped a hole through the fabric of Iranian politics, leaving a nation reeling in its wake. Ebrahim Raisi's rise to power was swift and decisive. A hardline cleric, he ascended to the presidency in 2021, promising a return to conservative values and a defiant stance against the West. His election, marked by low turnout and accusations of voter suppression, signaled a hardening of Iran's political landscape. Raisi's tenure was defined by a tightening grip on social freedoms and a renewed focus on strengthening Iran's regional influence. His policies, a blend of economic nationalism and social conservatism, resonated with a segment of the population weary of economic hardship and perceived cultural erosion. He doubled down on Iran's nuclear program, challenging the limits set by the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. His assertive foreign policy, marked by closer ties with Russia and China, sought to counterbalance Western pressure. Raisi, a staunch ideologue, saw Iran as a bastion of resistance against Western hegemony. His critics, however, saw him as an authoritarian figure, intolerant of dissent and intent on consolidating power. Human rights groups decried his crackdown on protests and the silencing of dissenting voices. The international community, wary of his hardline stance, viewed him with a mixture of apprehension and suspicion. His sudden demise, therefore, sent shockwaves through Iran's political establishment and reverberated across the globe. Across the world, news of the helicopter crash and the deaths of President Raisi and Foreign Minister Amirabdollahian triggered a wave of shock and uncertainty. World leaders expressed condolences, acknowledging the tragedy while cautiously observing its potential impact on regional and global affairs. The United States, while maintaining its critical stance on Iran's nuclear program and human rights record, offered condolences and expressed hope for continued dialogue with the Iranian government. The European Union, deeply involved in negotiations over the Iran nuclear deal, expressed deep sorrow and emphasized the importance of stability in the region. Russia, a key ally of Iran, mourned the loss of President Raisi and pledged continued cooperation with the Iranian government. China, another significant partner, echoed similar sentiments, stressing the importance of maintaining strong bilateral ties. The reactions, however, were not limited to official statements. Global media outlets scrambled to analyze the implications of the tragedy, speculating on the future of Iran's political landscape and its impact on regional stability. Experts weighed in, offering insights into the potential power struggles within Iran's complex political system. The crash, a sudden and unexpected event, had thrown a wrench into the gears of global geopolitics, leaving the world grappling with its potential ramifications. The fog that shrouded the Zagros Mountains also veiled the crash in a cloak of mystery. As Iran mourned, whispers of speculation began to circulate. The circumstances of the crash, the sudden loss of both the president and foreign minister, fueled a whirlwind of theories. Was it a tragic accident, a mechanical failure in the unforgiving terrain, or was there something more sinister at play? The Iranian government, in its initial pronouncements, attributed the crash to adverse weather conditions. However, the lack of detailed information, and the swiftness of the announcement did little to quell the growing unease. Rumors, often fueled by social media, spread like wildfire. Some pointed to potential sabotage, citing the tense political climate and Raisi's hardline stance. Others whispered of internal power struggles, suggesting a possible coup attempt. The official investigation, shrouded in secrecy, added to the growing sense of unease. The lack of transparency only fueled further speculation. The truth, for now, remained elusive, lost in the fog of uncertainty. The whispers persisted, a constant undercurrent to the official pronouncements of mourning and unity. The crash, a tragedy shrouded in mystery, threatened to further destabilize an already volatile region. The sudden loss of President Raisi plunged Iran into a constitutional crisis. The nation, still reeling from the shock of the crash, now faced the daunting task of determining a successor. The Iranian constitution, a complex tapestry of religious and political authority, outlined the procedures for such an event, but the process was fraught with potential pitfalls. The Assembly of Experts, a clerical body responsible for choosing the supreme leader, now faced the added burden of appointing an interim president. The task was complicated by the lack of a clear frontrunner and the potential for internal divisions to surface. The Guardian Council, tasked with vetting candidates for political office, was also drawn into the maelstrom, its decisions likely to shape the future of Iranian politics. The eyes of the world were now fixed on Iran, watching for any signs of instability or power grabs. The succession process, typically a discreet affair, was now thrust into the global spotlight. The stakes were high, with the potential for internal strife and external interference looming large. The weight of history, the legacy of past political upheavals, hung heavy in the air. The helicopter crash, a tragedy confined to a remote mountainside, sent ripples of consequence across the volatile region. Iran, a major player in Middle Eastern politics, now faced an uncertain future, its leadership vacuum creating a vortex of potential instability. Neighboring countries, long wary of Iran's regional ambitions, watched with a mixture of apprehension and opportunity. Israel, a staunch critic of Iran's nuclear program and its support for regional proxies, saw the crash as a potential turning point. The absence of Raisi, a hardliner who had vowed to wipe Israel off the map, could open up new possibilities for dialogue, or it could embolden more radical factions within Iran. Saudi Arabia, locked in a regional power struggle with Iran, also viewed the situation with cautious optimism, hoping for a shift in Iran's foreign policy. The Gulf states, caught in the crosshairs of the Iran-Saudi rivalry, braced for potential fallout. The crash had injected a new element of uncertainty into an already volatile region, threatening to unravel delicate alliances and reignite existing conflicts. The shifting sands of power in the Middle East, already in a state of flux, were further destabilized by the sudden void at the helm of Iranian leadership. As the nation mourned the loss of its president and foreign minister, a palpable sense of anxiety permeated the streets of Iran. Public expressions of grief were intertwined with private fears about the future. The crash, a sudden and brutal tear in the fabric of national life, had exposed the fragility of the political order and the deep-seated anxieties of the Iranian people. The economic hardship, exacerbated by years of sanctions and internal mismanagement, weighed heavily on the minds of many. The crash threatened to further destabilize the economy, jeopardizing livelihoods and fueling social unrest. The specter of international isolation, a constant companion in Iran's recent history, loomed large, casting a shadow over the nation's future prospects. The younger generation, yearning for greater freedoms and economic opportunities, watched the unfolding political drama with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The crash had created a rare moment of fluidity in a political system long characterized by rigidity and control. The direction of the nation, once seemingly fixed, was now up for grabs, leaving many to wonder if this tragedy would ultimately lead to greater openness or a further tightening of control. Ebrahim Raisi's legacy, now forever intertwined with the tragedy of the helicopter crash, is a complex tapestry of contradictions and unresolved questions. His tenure as president, brief and tumultuous, left an indelible mark on Iran's political landscape, shaping the nation's trajectory in ways that are still unfolding. His hardline stance, both domestically and internationally, appealed to a segment of the population seeking a return to conservative values and a defiant stance against the West. His supporters lauded his commitment to economic self-reliance and his efforts to strengthen Iran's regional influence. However, his critics decried his authoritarian tendencies and his crackdown on dissent, viewing his legacy as one of repression and isolation. The crash, however, adds a tragic dimension to his story, casting his achievements and failures in a new light. His sudden demise at the helm of a nation grappling with immense challenges leaves a void that will be difficult to fill. The future of Iran, now uncertain and fraught with potential pitfalls, will be shaped in part by the legacy of the hardline cleric who led it through a period of intense pressure and uncertainty. The helicopter crash, a jarring echo of past tragedies in Iran's turbulent history, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of power and the enduring impact of sudden loss on the national psyche. The nation, no stranger to political upheaval and the capricious hand of fate, was once again confronted with the specter of uncertainty and the haunting echoes of past traumas. The 1980 plane crash that killed Iranian President Mohammad Ali Rajai and Prime Minister Mohammad Javad Bahonar, a devastating blow to the nascent Islamic Republic, cast a long shadow over the nation's political consciousness. The assassination of former Prime Minister Ali Razmara in 1951, a pivotal moment in Iran's tumultuous 20th century, served as another stark reminder of the vulnerability of political leaders and the potential for violence to disrupt the fragile fabric of national unity. The current tragedy, while different in its circumstances, evoked the same sense of collective shock and the unsettling realization that even the most powerful figures are not immune to the whims of fate. The nation, still grappling with the legacy of past traumas, now faced the daunting task of navigating a new crisis, its path forward obscured by the echoes of past tragedies and the lingering shadows of uncertainty. The fog that shrouded the crash site, a physical manifestation of the uncertainty that now gripped Iran, extended its reach into the nation's future. The path ahead, once seemingly charted by President Raisi's hardline vision, was now shrouded in mist, its contours obscured by the sudden void in leadership and the unpredictable dynamics of internal and external forces. The immediate challenge lay in navigating the complex process of succession, ensuring a smooth transition of power while mitigating the potential for internal strife and external interference. The choice of a new leader, a weighty decision with profound implications for Iran's future trajectory, would reveal much about the direction the nation was headed, towards greater openness or a doubling down on the existing hardline approach. The international community, watching with bated breath, would play a crucial role in shaping the post-crash landscape. The response to Iran's leadership crisis, ranging from cautious diplomacy to opportunistic pressure, would influence the nation's ability to navigate its internal challenges and its position on the global stage. The fog of uncertainty, for now, obscures the long-term consequences of the crash, leaving the future of Iran and its impact on the region and the world suspended in a state of anxious anticipation.